我们狙击手的生涯是孤独无言，也像静止的流星。
为何小强？子弹才是原因。
500米以外的目标是眼前的零距离，他能活多久，你们来决定。
It wouldn't be Fantasia without a dearth of big Hong Kong action movies. Recently, Ethan and Ryan took a look at one that seemed to go against the usual grain, but then again, that was from the mainlands, not Hong Kong. This interview, Justine and I are looking at Cold Steel, which is definitely a big Hong Kong action movie, but not quite as interesting as the one they looked at. Justine, what did you think?
I'm inclined to agree. The film has some things working in its favor. The action sequences are very tight. They are consistently compelling, even though nothing stands out exactly. It's very clear that David Wu, who is the director of the film and was the editor on a lot of John Woo's films like Hard Boiled, is an incredible director of action, an incredible editor of action. But everything else really falls apart. And what really did not work for me was the fact that the film is so pro-China. It's so pro-China. It's such a obvious work of propaganda that it totally dilutes everything else in the film. It makes the antagonists everything about it just becomes irrational because of this propaganda take. It's like, oh, because Japan is evil, these are bad guys. And you're like, that's not character development.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's pretty much been Hong Kong cinema lately. Like if you watch the Ip Man series or Legend of the Fist, so much like rabid nationalism. And I will admit, of the movies I've watched lately, this one actually is not that bad by comparison. Like they at least tried to make one or two Japanese characters a little sympathetic in a certain light, rather than them just being demons. But yeah, the movie is still so laden with, flag waving and trying really hard to create imagery. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
the main character is a sniper in World War II, and there's one bit where he makes his girlfriend like a wind chime out of spent shell casings, and there's one scene later when the shell casing wind chime is on fire and the shot lingers on it, and I'm like, really, you're trying too hard there.
It's
You're
trying to make
create a
something
memorable
iconic,
picture. Yeah.
basically. It's trying to create something that, in pure propaganda fashion, you create an iconic image in which people can latch onto and latch on ideas that are associated with the film. These ideas of, this is our country, we must live up to it, we must support it at any cost. Even if you're poor, even if you have nothing going for you, if you join the army, if you support mainland China, good things will come to you.
Yeah. And I will even admit, the character himself is sort of interesting in that he's a complete sheep. Like there are bits in the movie when he just starts speaking through propaganda lines, but it seems like consciously awkward. And for one moment I thought the movie was gonna go in this direction of how, you can't just go around talking in, campaign slogans. But it didn't really.
No, it does have that. He's actually an interesting character in general because he's kind of compelling, he's kind of funny, he's kind of cute. He has these moments, but again, it just bogged down. Everything about it is like every scene, every moment, every shot feels weighed down by this propaganda, and it's such a shame.
I know, because the editor, or director rather, has such a huge history working with John Woo, and he worked at Shaw Brothers. He's got an amazing story behind him. And I think this is his first actual directed movie. It isn't?
It's his first directed film since the early 90s.
Okay. Yeah, and so much like lineage there, so much history, and you'd think he'd be able to turn something better out, but apparently not.
So I'm going to guess you do not recommend the film? No. Yeah, neither do I, unfortunately. Sorry, David Wu, you seem like a really cool dude, but can't recommend your movie.
I'm sorry, I'm going to forget this movie by the time the fest is over.
And that's our review.
我就杀了你！